Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video, and today we are taking a look at the DC Multiverse Clayface Collect and Connect wave, starting with the Rebirth Superman. Here we have Superman in the front window box displayed with his accessories, and you get actually a little bit of artwork here with the new packaging style for Multiverse. You get the same artwork on that side, and you get the same artwork on that side, and you get the same artwork on that side. So that's a little bit of a bummer. They use the same piece of artwork just displayed in different ways. On the back, we do have the other figures needed in the wave to complete the Clayface Collect and Connect figure. And at the top, we do have the read-up, "The Man of Steel must balance protecting the new world while raising his son, Jon Kent." And at the bottom here, we have the UPC code, so you can check with your local retailer to see if they have this in stock. But enough about that. Let's get this open and take a look at the Rebirth Superman. And here we have Superman outside of his packaging, and we're starting to see some of the benefits of the new Mattel articulation. Not quite to the point of what we heard at San Diego Comic-Con this year, where they talked about how they are actually getting things like ankle pivot included in the Multiverse line, which is long overdue. They bring this Multiverse line up to par with Marvel Legends, and I might have to seriously rethink where my money goes with some of these collections, because I'm definitely a bigger DC fan. But overall, cool figure. I have a couple of issues out of the box, which I'll go over when we do our better looks at the sculpt and such. He does come with accessories. He comes with these extra flying hands, which he's got one of them on right now, and of course he has the alternate fisted hands. I'm not going to do a separate panel on that. We'll go ahead and just take a look at those when we do the better looks at the sculpt and the the sculpt specifically. And then of course he does come with the Collect and Connect piece for Clayface, which we'll look at once we actually build Clayface. But let's go ahead and jump into that better looks right now. And getting up close and a better look here at this head sculpt, I can see what they were going for. They have a very heroic looking jawline there with the very strong chin. And of course you got that classic Superman swirl there of his hair hanging down on his forehead. But I don't know, there's just something about this head sculpt that I'm not super keen on. I don't know, it just, maybe it's too long. I don't know. I can't tell. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. But, I mean, the sculpt itself, the sculpt work's not terrible looking. And like I said, at this angle, you can definitely see they were going for a very strong jawline, which is definitely, very Superman-like. But, I don't know. There's just something about that head sculpt I'm not big on. Going down, so this is the Rebirth Superman, which does not have the high collar of the New 52 Superman. So we do see that he's got the exposed neck there. The classic trademark logo on his chest actually looks pretty well painted. Looks like right there at the base of his pecs and where his pecs meet, there's a little paint missing. But for the most part, very sharp line work. I mean, look at that. That is, why don't we get that out of Hasbro, that type of line work? I'm wondering if this is, I don't know what method they use. I always like DC's paint work, or Mattel's paint work. It always seems very strong. Going around, he's got that same classic logo. Looks like I got a little smudge on mine, but the classic logo on the cape looks great. Continuing down the rest of the figure, so again, Rebirth Superman does not have the red underwear. He just has that belt on, so not a whole lot going on there. The hands I was talking about, so you get the flying hands and then you get the fisted hands, and those can switch out very easily. The Multiverse figures don't have any kind of hinge. It's just a straight port, so you literally just pop it back in there, and there you go. And then continuing down the rest of the figure, he does have just the red stripe on the boot. He doesn't have the red boots. The current Rebirth Superman does have red boots. That is the result of the Superman Reborn storyline. So technically, when the Rebirth Superman came out, he did not have the red boots. But yeah, and then when we look up, so most of this is just blue plastic, but there is some slight, I don't know how well it's showing up, but there's some slight shadowing going on around like his arms. And I don't know how well that's showing up. That is kind of cool. I'm just now kind of noticing it under the light that there is some shadowing, especially right here on his abs. So, yeah, pretty neat. Let's go ahead and jump into the articulation and see what Mattel's got for us. So looking at the scale here, we can see that Superman is coming in at a little over 6.5 inches tall, putting him on the larger scale, which he is a big guy. So checking out the articulation, so you do have a head that can go side to side, and I'll admit it's still a little, like, look at the spring that kind of comes back on that. So his head articulation is still a little gummy. He can look down a bit, but he can't really look up too far because they still don't have that hinged neck joint. They're still just using the that ball joint that's under there. So neck articulation hopefully will be on the list of improvements coming up. His arms, you get very strong T-pose, and of course you do get full rotation on there. You do have a bicep swivel, single jointed elbow with rotation at the elbow. Nope, just kidding, no rotation at the elbow. And then you do have just the rotation at the wrist because it does not have that hinge. He does have an ab crunch, which gets down pretty far and can actually go back pretty far. So thankfully, even though you can't get his head back too much, you can get some of those flying poses thanks to that ab crunch. He does have a waist rotation. Now we're seeing the new improved articulation here in the legs. Still can get all the way out, which is surprising because this is very similar to the Hasbro articulation. Can kick forward very far, can kick back. If it kind of angles outwards, but he can kick back a little bit. But that is great that we're seeing that much of a wide stance in that type of joint. He does have an upper thigh cut, double jointed knees, and he does still only have a hinge at the ankle, no type of pivot there. And real quick, just what I was talking about, kind of looking at the figure as a whole, I feel like his legs and his lower torso just don't match with the upper body size that he has. I don't know, what do you think? Maybe that's just me. And here we have Rebirth Superman next to the Multiverse Super Friends Superman and the DC Universe Classics New 52 Superman. And it's great to see some of those articulation changes, but you can kind of see a little bit more what I'm talking about with that lower half of his body. Just feel like those legs don't belong on this Superman. The other two look more in proportion than what he does. I don't know if it's just, I feel like they're just too skinny. And here is Rebirth Superman next to some of the most iconic Superman villains. You got Lex Luthor from the DC Universe Classics line, the Collect and Connect Darkseid from that same DC Universe Classics line, and the New 52 Doomsday that was part of the Multiverse line. And that about does it for this review, everyone. And overall, I'm definitely happy to see that Mattel is learning from their articulation woes, and they are finally starting to do something about it. And I think this is the step in the right direction. And I'm very excited the news from the San Diego Comic-Con that we're going to start seeing a really good focus on figure design and character design going forward for the Multiverse line of figures. And I think that is just great because I've actually being able to even get this pose out of a Multiverse figure. I was impressed that I was able to get a dynamic pose for him. There's ways it could have been a little bit better, but still, this is awesome, and it is a wonderful start. So aside from the fact that I feel like his lower torso is just, his legs are too skinny to be Superman, it is very cool that we get a Rebirth Superman. I kind of wish that we just would have gotten the updated version of the Rebirth Superman that has the red boots. Because this version of the Rebirth Superman only lasted, I think, maybe a year or so before they did the Superman Reborn line, and they gave him his updated costume that he wears now. But either way, very cool, very decent figure, and I love the new Multiverse direction, like I said. So overall, I think it's worth a pickup, and I'm really excited. That arm for Clayface was massive, so I feel like he is going to be a huge figure. But anyway, as I said, that does it for this review. Hit that like button down below if you like this review. Leave a comment on what you think about the new Multiverse lines and the direction that they're going. Do you like it? Do you think it's too little too late? Let me know. I'm curious down below. Aside from that, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more content just like this. And other than that, thanks for watching the video and have a great day.